Hi, Bill Barber from Poliigon here. In this video we're going to be taking a closer look at the Bricks Modern Generator, a SBSAR file now available from Poliigon. In a previous video I've already gone over how you make use of these files, be it in Blender by exporting textures or by using one of the plugins in Max, Maya and Cinema 4D. I'll include a link to that video below. But yeah, let's head over to Substance Player and get started. Okay, so I have the Bricks Modern Generator loaded up into Substance Painter. If you're using this within Max or Maya, you're probably using the Substance plugin, so it'll be a very different interface for you, but the parameters that I'll be going over will essentially be the same. So, talking of the parameters, let's get to them. I've currently got the resolution set to 512, which is the default. Obviously, when it comes to export time, we want to increase that, but I'm going to leave it on 512 so that the Substance Player responds nice and fast as we're changing these parameters around. So, let's have a look in global first of all. This is where you choose your workflow and the overall scale of the material and basically the larger effects on the overall look. So I'm going to leave it on metallic roughness. Let's just lower this scale a little bit, see what that does. There we go. And next we have the brick bond pattern. Now this is the thing that will have the biggest impact on the overall look. Like if I change this to say, I don't know, Sussex Bond, we'll get these little black bricks in place. Or we've got this one, which looks pretty good too. But let's stick to... let's go with the American Bond. There we go. So, next we have the mortar width. This allows you to increase the gap between the bricks, basically. So if I put this all the way up, we'll see a really big gap. But obviously, I'm going to keep that a bit lower, I think. Something about there. Next we have brick rotation variation. Now, I believe that one might actually get renamed because it's not massively clear what it does, but it basically adjusts the noise pattern in the background that dictates the color of the pattern of the color of the bricks. So if I play around with that for a second, you'll see what I mean. Yeah. So that's what that one does. Extrusion's pretty self-explanatory. That's the amount that the bricks poke out of the wall. It affects both the normal map and the height map, like so. So let's leave that about there. Now these last two, extrusion variation and tilt variation, they work really well together, and it's kind of a way of making the bricks look less organized, whether you're going for kind of an aged look or just that kind of messy brick type of thing. This is the two that you'd use. So as I raise this, you'll see the extrusion amounts vary quite considerably. Then we've got the tilt variation, which gives kind of a bit of almost rotation to the individual bricks, so you can get quite a messy sort of look. At this stage I will quickly just whack this up to 4K. I'd like to have a look what the finished brick will look like. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, pop that back to 512 and then jump over to bricks. Now this, funnily enough, is where you configure the look of the actual bricks themselves. First we have surface, where you have a couple of different types. Defaults to smooth, but you can go for kind of a sort of scored look. Decide whether the scoring's horizontal or vertical. There's sand creased, which is kind of that wavy sort of pattern. Distressed and a few others. I'm going to leave it on distressed, actually. That looks pretty good. So next up we have these flash patterns and burnt spots. This is like when the brick's in the kiln doing its thing, sometimes you get that kind of burnt look, that kind of blackening. This is for controlling that, basically. So if I zoom in a little bit and raise this flash pattern, you'll start to see the darker areas appearing, and then you can adjust the variation. So if I lower this all the way down, pretty much every brick's going to have this kind of burnt look, and as I raise it up, only some of them will. Yeah. So you kind of play with both of those to get the sort of look that you want. And then you have burnt spots. Now this one's kind of hard to see in 512 resolution because it's a very subtle effect. So let me just up this to 4K again for a second. And then as I lower this, hopefully we'll see exactly what it's doing. It's taking a minute to think about it. Yeah, so if you look at this brick here, for example, as I raise this, we'll get a couple of little dots up here, like there. Quite a subtle effect, but it is quite nice. So let's go back to 512. And look what else we've got. We've got the shape of the bricks. This allows you to basically round off the edges of them. If I raise this up a little bit, you'll see it's starting to get a curved edge. It also seems to cut in a bit from the mortar, so you'd want to balance that with the mortar width if you were going to use it. I'm going to turn it back down there. There we go. Next we have condition. This allows you to basically add in weathering effects and things of that nature. First of all, though, you've got reclaimed, which will give it that kind of look. Kind of looks like it's that look where you've got reclaimed bricks, like bricks from previous walls or whatever that have been knocked down, but the bricks are in good condition, so they've taken them and made a wall out of it. That type of effect. I'm going to turn that off. Next you have edge chipping. This is where it starts to chip away at the side. Typical weathering effect for bricks. Kinda hard to see. Yeah, you can just about see how it's chipping away at the edge there. Again, this looks a lot better in 4K, but it's so slow, I'm trying to avoid that. Next we have the edge chipping variations. That's exactly what you'd imagine. As you raise that, it will add in more variations, so some of the bricks will have the chipping and some won't. Let's just lower this down a little bit. Next we have spalling. Now this is where large chunks of the interior of the brick have started to weather away. You can see it as I raise and lower that. Really nice effect, that one. So we'll leave a bit of that in. And next we have some cracks, which yeah, just adds in cracks, and then you have the variation for that as well. So some bricks can have it and some can't. Yeah, and that's it for the condition. So let's lower that down. Next, colour, pretty much self-explanatory. You can change the overall colour of the brick. You can use a gradient where it will kind of add in the sort of different coloration within each brick. I'm going to leave that off actually. Ooh, there we go. You can also have, you can use one colour, or same as the surface colour, or custom colour, and then change that to something like this. And yeah, basically a lot of colour customization within there. Next we have microsurface, which is basically just the this is where we control the roughness of the brick. If I lower this right down, it makes the brick nice and shiny. Handy if you're going for kind of a wet look, but I'll leave that up for now. And then you have the header bricks, where you can just hold on. This is where you decide what these black bricks look like. So you could have that as a completely different effect, basically. So you could have these as scored like that, and adjust the colouring. Go for, say, I don't know, a white sort of look. Don't know why you'd want that, but hey, that's what that's what that does. And then you can change the individual roughness of them, so you could make those shiny and not the other bricks, etc. So yeah, that's all the controls for bricks. Next we have mortar. There's not a lot in there. You can control the flatness, just smooths it out basically, the colour and the roughness again. Now finish is quite a big one. This allows you to basically make the walls painted if you want to. So change it to painted mode, maybe give that a kind of white colour, and we've got white painted bricks. Brilliant. From there you can lower the number of coats or raise it for sort of a varying sort of effect. In fact, down here looks pretty good because you see the original material of the brick coming through, whereas up high it will be completely painted over. And you can change the finish of the paint. You can have full-on glossy paint, or more of a matte finish, depending on what you're going for. I'll actually turn this off for now though. And the last one is dirt, which is pretty self-explanatory. Raise that and you get this colour. In fact, it looks a bit like a prison cell now, doesn't it? But yeah, that's what the dirt does. And that's pretty much it for the material. As you can see, a huge amount of customization options. When you're done, of course, whack up the resolution to 4K or whatever you need, but something nice and high will definitely bring out the details better, and then you can export the material as needed.